They treated me like I was nothing. His mother called me trash. His sister laughed when they changed the locks. My husband, he just stood there and watched them throw my clothes on the lawn. But 6 months later, when that lawyer found me, everything changed. And suddenly, they all remembered my phone number. If you've ever been underestimated, disrespected, or counted out by people who thought you'd never amount to anything, this story is for you. Stay until the end because what happens next will remind you why you should never let anyone dim your light. And if this story touches your heart, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. I met Andre on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were always my longest shifts at the hospital. I was a nurse in the emergency room and he came in with his nephew who'd broken his arm at basketball practice. While we were waiting for the X-ray results, we just started talking. He was charming, funny, and he looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. By the time his nephew was in a cast, Andre had asked for my number. Those first 6 months were like a dream. He took me to nice restaurants, sent flowers to the hospital, called me every night before bed. He told me I was beautiful, that he'd never met anyone like me. He said all the right things. I thought I'd finally found someone who saw me. Really saw me. My mama always told me that when something seems too good to be true, it probably is. I should have listened. Meeting his family should have been my first real clue. His mother, Beverly, answered the door at their big house in the suburbs, and the way her eyes traveled up and down my body made my skin crawl. She didn't say I wasn't welcome, but she didn't have to. Her smile never reached her eyes. His sister Candace was worse. She looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. All through dinner, they asked me questions that sounded polite but felt like tiny cuts. Where did I go to school? What did my parents do? Oh, nursing. How nice. That must be hard work. The way she said hard work made it sound like something beneath them. Andre squeezed my hand under the table and later told me I was imagining things that his family just needed time to warm up to me. I wanted to believe him so badly that I convinced myself he was right. That was my second mistake. My first was ignoring what my gut already knew. We got married 8 months after we met. It was a small ceremony and I told myself that's what I wanted, something intimate and simple. But the truth is, his family barely participated. Beverly wore black to my wedding. Black. Candace didn't even pretend to smile in the photos. But Andre said he loved me. And back then, I thought that was enough. I thought love could cover everything else. After the wedding, we moved into the house Andre had inherited from his father. It was a beautiful home, the kind I'd dreamed about as a little girl growing up in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 siblings. But from day one, I never felt like it was mine. Beverly had keys. She would show up whenever she wanted, rearranging my kitchen, critiquing my decorating choices, making comments about how things were done when her husband was alive. I asked Andre to get the locks changed, but he said I was being dramatic, that his mother just wanted to help. Help. That's what he called it when she told me my cooking was too spicy, my music too loud, my friends too ghetto. That's what he called it when she went through my closet and suggested I dress more appropriately. That's what he called it when she told me, right to my face, that I should be grateful her son chose me because I wasn't exactly what they had imagined for him. I should have left then, but I kept thinking things would get better. I kept thinking that if I just tried harder, was quieter, smiled more, made myself smaller, they would finally accept me. That's what we do sometimes, isn't it? We shrink ourselves trying to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold us. Andre started changing, too. The man who used to defend me, who used to tell his mother to back off, started going silent. He'd sit there at Sunday dinners while Candace made jokes about my hair, my nails, the way I talked. He stopped reaching for my hand. He stopped seeing me. And when I'd bring it up later, he'd say I was too sensitive, that I was causing problems where there weren't any. He made me feel crazy for feeling what I was feeling. Then the financial control started. Andre had always handled the bills, but suddenly I was getting an allowance. An allowance like I was a child. He said it was better this way, more organized. But what it really meant was that I couldn't make a move without asking permission. I was working full-time, bringing home my own paycheck, and somehow I ended up having to justify every dollar I spent. When I tried to open my own account, he got angry. Really angry. He said married people shared everything, that I was being selfish and secretive. His family convinced him I was spending too much time with my own people. That's how Beverly said it. Your own people, like my mama and my sister and my cousins, were some kind of threat. Slowly, I stopped going to family dinners at my mama's house. Stopped answering my sister Denise's calls as often. I was so isolated that I didn't even realize how alone I'd become until it was too late. The breaking point came on a Thursday night. I just finished a double shift, 16 hours on my feet, and I was exhausted in a way that went bone deep. All I wanted was to take a hot shower and fall into bed. But when I pulled into the driveway, I saw Beverly's car and Candace's car and Andre's cousin's car. My stomach dropped because I knew somehow I already knew. My key didn't work in the lock. I stood there on my own porch twisting that key over and over, and then the door opened. Andre stood there and he couldn't even look me in the eye. Behind him, I could see Beverly and Candace sitting in my living room like they owned it, because apparently they did. "This isn't working out," Andre said. Just like that. No emotion, no explanation. Like he was talking to a stranger. Beverly stood up and I'll never forget the look on her face. Pure satisfaction. She told me I was never good enough for her son, that she'd known from the beginning I was just after their money, that I'd trapped Andre into marrying me. She called me names I won't repeat. She said things about my family, my background, my skin, things that cut so deep I can still feel the scars. My clothes were in garbage bags on the front lawn. My photos, my books, my grandmother's quilt, everything just thrown outside like trash. Candace was actually laughing. And Andre, the man who'd promised to love and protect me, just stood there. He handed me divorce papers that were already drawn up, already signed on his end. He'd planned this. They'd all planned this. I called my sister with shaking hands. And while I waited for her to come get me, I sat on the curb next to my garbage bags and cried. Beverly and Candace watched from the window. I could see them pointing, laughing. In that moment, I felt smaller than I'd ever felt in my entire life. Denise pulled up 20 minutes later, and she didn't say a word. She just helped me load those garbage bags into her car and drove me to her apartment. I slept on her couch that night and cried until I had nothing left. The next few months were the hardest of my life. The divorce went through fast because I didn't have the money to fight it. Andre's lawyer was aggressive and mean, and I left that marriage with almost nothing. Just my car, my clothes, and my dignity hanging by a thread. I heard through mutual friends that they were telling everyone I'd been unfaithful, that I'd been stealing from them, all kinds of lies to justify what they'd done. I picked up extra shifts at the hospital, working doubles and sometimes triples, just to save enough money for a deposit on an apartment. Denise never complained about me being there, but I felt like such a burden. I'd cry in the shower so she wouldn't hear me. I'd smile at work and fall apart the second I got home. I started seeing a therapist because I didn't trust my own judgment anymore. How had I gotten everything so wrong? But slowly, something started to shift. I started remembering who I was before Andre, before cruel comments, before I'd made myself small. I reconnected with my mama, with Denise, with friends I'd pushed away. I started going back to church. I started praying again, really praying. And little by little, I found myself again. 6 months after they threw me out, I finally saved enough to rent a small one-bedroom apartment. It wasn't much, just 600 square feet with thin walls and a leaky faucet. But it was mine. Nobody could take it from me. Nobody could make me feel unwelcome there. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Then on a random Wednesday afternoon, my entire life changed with a phone call. "Is this speaking?" The voice said, "My name is Mr. Patterson and I'm an attorney. I've been trying to locate you regarding the estate of Dorothy Williams, my grandmother, my daddy's mama, the woman who used to braid my hair on her porch and tell me I was destined for greatness. We'd lost touch after I married Andre. Beverly had made comments about her being old-fashioned and country, and like everything else, I'd let that relationship fade to keep the peace. I hadn't even known she'd passed away. The meeting at the lawyer's office felt like an out-of-body experience. Mr. Patterson explained that Grandma Dorothy had been searching for me for months before she died. She'd left me everything, her house, her savings, and the restaurant she'd built from nothing, and turned into one of the most successful soul food spots in the state. The total, $2. 8 million. I sat in that leather chair in that fancy office and sobbed. Not because of the money, though I won't lie, that was overwhelming, but because of the letter Mr. Patterson handed me written in my grandmother's shaky handwriting. Baby girl, it said, I always knew you were destined for greatness. Don't let anyone make you small. Don't let anyone dim your light. You come from strong women, and that strength is in your bones. Take this blessing and fly. Make me proud. You already have. I cried so hard the lawyer had to bring me tissues and water. All that time, I'd felt worthless. Felt like nothing. And my grandmother had been trying to find me to remind me who I really was. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I paid off every debt I had. I bought a house, a real house with a yard and a porch and enough space to finally breathe. I invested wisely with the help of a financial advisor. And I started making plans to reopen my grandmother's restaurant, which had been closed since she got sick. That's when they started reaching out. First, it was a text from Andre. Hey, can we talk? Like we were old friends who just lost touch. I deleted it. Then Beverly called. Her voice was suddenly sweet as honey. Sweetheart, I've been thinking about you. I always loved you like a daughter. We should get together. Candace sent me a DM on Instagram. Girl, I miss you. We should grab coffee and catch up. At first, I didn't understand what was happening. Then I realized that someone had seen me at the lawyer's office. Someone had talked. And suddenly, the same people who'd thrown me away like trash were all crawling back. The messages got more frequent, more desperate. Andre sent paragraphs about how he'd made a mistake, how he'd never stopped loving me, how his mother had manipulated him. Beverly showed up at the hospital crying about how she'd misunderstood me. Candace tried to corner me in a parking lot. But what really gave them away was when they all started asking for money. Andre needed a loan for a business investment. Beverly's house needed repairs. Candace wanted me to invest in her boutique idea. They didn't want me. They wanted what I had. The grand reopening of Grandma Dorothy's restaurant was on a Saturday night. I'd worked for months to restore it to honor her memory and her legacy. The whole community came out. My mama was there crying happy tears. Denise stood beside me proud as could be. The local news even showed up. And then I saw them. Beverly, Candace, and Andre walking in like they'd been invited, like they had any right to be there. I was in the middle of giving a speech, thanking everyone who'd supported me, especially my sister who'd held me together when I was broken. I made sure to look right at them when I talked about the people who'd stood by me, who'd never given up on me, who'd seen my worth, even when I couldn't see it myself. Beverly tried to make a scene, tried to claim she'd always supported me, that she'd always known I'd do great things. But this time, I wasn't alone. I had security, my security, at my event in my grandmother's restaurant. And that night, I had them escorted out. After everyone went home, after the last dish was washed and the doors were locked, I sat alone in my grandmother's office and sent Andre one final message: I'm not your backup plan. Lose my number. Then I blocked them all: Beverly, Candace, Andre, every single person who ever made me feel like I wasn't enough. And you know what? It felt like freedom. The money changed my life, I won't pretend it didn't. But the real victory wasn't the inheritance. The real victory was getting myself back. It was remembering that my worth was never defined by people who failed to see it. It was learning that sometimes, the people who discard you are actually clearing the path for your blessings. Today, the restaurant is thriving. And I've started a foundation that helps women leave difficult situations, because I remember what it felt like to have nothing but garbage bags and a broken heart. I've helped dozens of women rebuild their lives, rediscover their strength, and remember their value. As for Andre and his family, I heard through the grapevine that they're struggling financially. A small part of me feels sympathy, but mostly, I feel gratitude. Grateful they revealed who they truly were. Grateful they pushed me away so I could find my way back to myself. Grateful for everything that broke me, because it showed me just how strong I really am. My grandmother was right. I was always destined for greatness. I just had to stop letting other people write my story. So that's my story. They threw me away like I was nothing, but God had other plans. I learned that sometimes the people who discard you are the very ones making room for your blessings. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been treated like you weren't worthy, only for those same people to regret it later? Share your story in the comments. And if this video reminded you that your value does not decrease because someone failed to recognize it, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.